What is the forbidden devil fruit that Loki ate? What is the story behind Ragnar the hammer squirrel? Why were Shanks and Gaban unable to defeat Harald? How did Loki manage to kill his own father? And is Loki truly stronger than Kaido? In this video, I present my full review of One Piece manga, chapter 1170.
Your support really matters, guys. The recent reviews haven't been getting the views they deserve, so don't forget to leave a like and a comment. Now, let's begin.
The chapter opens with an editor's note, a sudden attack from the hammer. Loki, walking angrily, believes that someone inside the room must have thrown the hammer at him. Otherwise, how could it be flying through the air on its own? He quickly realizes that it's impossible for anyone to be there and heads toward the fruit. At that moment, Ragnar slams an overwhelming weight onto the floor of the room, causing it to collapse. All of this is an attempt to prevent Loki from reaching the fruit. This concept of weight is clearly reminiscent of Thor's hammer, which is a nice touch. The scene then shifts to Harald, who is still trampling the remaining giants. He warns Loki not to attempt eating the legendary devil fruit. He explains that no one has been able to consume this fruit for centuries, not because they didn't try, but because Ragnar rejected all of them. However, with his current power, Harald claims that he can tame it. This directly addresses a point I raised during the leaks. It didn't make any sense for a hammer alone to overpower the previous kings of the giants, especially since those kings belonged to the ancient giant clan. So how could Ragnar protect the fruit from such monsters? This situation strongly reminds me of Enma, the sword. No one could wield it properly except Odin, and later Zoro, who went through a near-death trial before Enma finally accepted him. That said, I'm still not convinced that Harald couldn't eat the forbidden fruit simply because he feared Ragnar. This is Harald, a man with power comparable to Zebek. What kind of logic is this? At that moment, as Harald approaches the room, he is attacked by Shanks and Gaban, this time using advanced Conqueror's Haki coding. Yes, Conqueror's Haki coding. Gaban states that Harald will now feel pain and his regeneration will slow down drastically. If they continue attacking him repeatedly in this way, he will eventually be unable to fight. He explains that attacks coded with Conqueror's Haki are a weakness of the Holy Knights. Now let's address the real issue. Why do people downplay Shanks? Why all this disrespect towards Shanks? I'm only stating facts. First of all, was Shanks really weak at the age of 25, as some people claim? These are the same people who argue that Shanks was stronger with both arms and became weaker after losing one. So which is it? How can Shanks be considered weak when he had already reached the level of Conqueror's Haki coding, a technique mastered only by the absolute elite of the world? What about his legendary duels with Mihawk, which Whitebeard himself described as legendary? We know those battles happened during that period, and even before it. They only stopped after Shanks lost his arm. So how can those fights be called legendary if Shanks was supposedly weak? This is also an undeniable proof that Mihawk possessed Conqueror's Haki coding during those duels as well. Did Shanks reach his absolute peak at the age of 25? No, I never said that. The current Shanks is undoubtedly stronger than his 25-year-old self. But even back then, Shanks had already mastered everything that the world's top-tier fighters possess. So how could he possibly be weak? And then people say Shanks was young and not in his prime. Why didn't you say the same about Kaido when he was part of the Rocks Pirates at the age of 21, when he was called an apprentice? But look at Luffy. He's 19 years old, a Yonko, and one of the strongest characters in the world. The same logic applies to Shanks. And when Luffy reaches the age of 25, he will be the Pirate King.
Are things that were allowed for Kaido forbidden for Shanks?
In any case, I am not downplaying Shanks. Harald turns toward Gaban and attacks him together with Shanks, saying, "Do you intend to oppose me?" Gaban responds, "Of course! If you lose your sanity, I won't allow you to run free." Shanks then wonders how Gaban learned about the weakness of the Holy Knights. After all, Shanks himself visited them in their own territory and had no knowledge of this. Here, we learn that the Holy Knights repeatedly came to Roger's crew in order to take Shanks and recruit him alongside his brother Shamrock. Each time, Roger's crew fought them and defeated them. Through those long battles, Roger's crew gained this knowledge. Skopper Gaban explains that Somers was the one who informed Shanks about this fact. The Holy Knights kept coming to take him away from Roger's ship. Now we finally understand how Somers and Gaban know each other, despite never fighting directly in God Valley. Gaban also says that they used to believe all celestial dragons were weak trash, and that discovering an elite fighting force among them came as a complete shock. And honestly, this is exactly how we as readers felt as well. We all assumed that celestial dragons were weak. Shanks himself is visibly disgusted at the idea that he could ever have thought like them, seeing himself as superior to ordinary people and refusing to descend into the lower world. Gaban comments that this is one of Destiny's ironies, which brings us back to the question, what does the Child of Destiny really mean, the title Gaban once gave to Shanks? This scene strongly supports the idea that it was fate that led Shanks to Roger's crew, and that same fate is what made Gaban call him the Child of Destiny. The battle between Harald and Shanks and Gaban continues. Shanks shows a desperate desire to save Harald. He does not want him to die. However, Gaban admits that there is no solution. Shanks himself once said that after forming a deep contract, there is no turning back. Back in the treasure room, Loki continues fighting Ragnar. He strikes him with his own hammer, but Ragnar completely shatters Loki's weapon into pieces. At that moment, Ragnar's true form is revealed. Ragnar is actually a hammer squirrel, a squirrel that has eaten the squirrel devil fruit. He is enraged because Loki's attack caused him pain. The fight is not over. Loki has not defeated Ragnar. On the contrary, Loki's weapon is destroyed, and now he stands defenseless. Returning to Harald, no one is able to stop him. Even Gaban, who believed he had discovered the method to neutralize Harald, just as he had done with the other Holy Knights, crashes into a solid wall. The reason is simple. The Holy Knights did not use Conqueror's Haki, unlike Harald. As a result, the combined assault of Gaban and Shanks failed to penetrate Harald's Conqueror's Haki armor. This mirrors the legendary clash of Roger and Garp versus Rox D. Zebek. And this is the core of my argument. I want to establish the true strength of Harald, whom many people strangely underestimate. Forget immortality, forget regeneration. Harald's raw Conqueror's Haki alone surpasses Gaban's, even when Gaban is at or near his prime. It also surpasses Shanks' Haki, even when Shanks and Gaban combine their power. Gaban's own words confirm what I've been saying all along. Imu's power does not grant additional Conqueror's Haki, nor does it amplify it. Conqueror's Haki is an innate, raw ability, unaffected by contracts. That is why all the Holy Knights Gaban fought lacked Conqueror's Haki entirely. Yes, Zebek's Conqueror's Haki was stronger than Roger's and Garp's combined, and old Harald's Conqueror's Haki is stronger than Shanks and Gaban's combined. That is why Rox D. Zebek and old Harald were the undisputed masters of their eras.
Harald has now overwhelmed everyone. The giants desperately try to stop him, but it's completely futile. Jarl shouts at them not to let him eat the fruit, no matter the cost. Inside the treasure room, the squirrel itself opens the chest and hands the fruit to Loki. Loki does not hesitate for a single moment. He eats it. A terrifying aura erupts as Loki transforms into the fruit's form, while the squirrel dances joyfully. Honestly, it doesn't seem like Ragnar was defeated by Loki at all. Rather, she accepted him willingly, for reasons still unknown. Loki feels like he possesses a special trait, as if he were the chosen child Ragnar had been waiting for over centuries. Now, Why is Ragnar's form a squirrel? Here, Oda clearly draws inspiration from Norse mythology, upon which the entire world of Elbaf is built. Elbaf is known to mirror the three realms: paradise above, the sun realm in the middle, and the realm of the dead below. In Norse mythology, the underworld is home to the dragon Nidhogger, who gnaws at the roots of the world tree Yggdrasil in order to bring about the destruction of the world. In the upper realm lives the great eagle, the sworn enemy of Nidhogger. Between them exists a squirrel named Ratatoskr, whose role is to travel back and forth between the dragon below and the eagle above, delivering insults to keep their hatred alive. If Loki represents the underworld, and if Oda intends to fully follow Norse symbolism, then the forbidden fruit of Elbaf eaten by Loki is the devil fruit of Nidhogger. Harald realizes that Loki has eaten the fruit and launches an attack against him. Loki tears Harald apart. Harald regenerates. Loki tears him apart again, and once more he regenerates. The attacks seem to have no real effect against Imu's immortality. Loki begins to shrink, returning to his normal form. Now it is time to use Ragnar. Loki raises the hammer as it crackles with Conqueror's haki. Harald regains his clarity and proudly says to Loki, "Just as I thought, it flows through your veins, Loki, the blood of the supreme kings." He is referring to Conqueror's haki. Conqueror's haki remains the absolute pinnacle that all warriors aspire to, yet only a chosen elite can ever attain it. Even in Elbaf, the strongest nation in the world, Conqueror's haki is an extremely rare currency. Only Harald possessed it, until now. Loki uses it for the first time, drawn out by Ragnar, just as Enma drew Conqueror's haki out of Zoro. Loki hesitates when he realizes his father has returned to his senses, but Harald tells him not to hesitate. His clarity will last for only a few moments. He explains that it is not merely control. His awareness and mindset changes, and he begins to think as a ruler. What he truly means is a god, even if the translation says ruler. Harald says he trusts Loki to lead Elbaf toward a better future, together with his elder brother Hadrudin. We see Shanks watching the scene in tears. Loki has been placed in an unimaginable position, a father asking his own son to kill him. What kind of burden is that? Loki cries out, "Even the worst fathers in the world wouldn't do this." Harald replies calmly, "And I love you." Ragnar summons an enormous bolt of lightning from the sky and merges it with Conqueror's haki, creating a devastating strike that shatters Harald into pieces. Loki breaks down in tears as he remembers his father's words, "Loki, my son, what truly matters is the future of Elbaf." The chapter ends with the editor's comment, "He departed, leaving behind his wish."
Harald is a legendary character. The author managed to create two unparalleled figures, Rox D. Zebek and Harald. If I had to choose one over the other, I honestly couldn't. They are among the greatest duos in the entire story, and both of their endings were truly glorious. Each of them stands at the very peak of power in the world of One Piece. Loki did not defeat Harald through sheer strength. Harald gave himself up after resisting Imu's contract with his own will, which allowed Loki to land the finishing blow. This completely dismantles the claims that say Loki is stronger than Harald, or Shanks, and therefore stronger than Harald, Shanks, and Rox D. Zebek. The gap between Loki and Harald at that moment was enormous. How did Harald regain his awareness? I'm not entirely sure, and how exactly that awareness is linked to losing immortality, I'm not sure about that either. However, I do have an interpretation. I believe that Loki's devil fruit is what caused Harald to regain his consciousness for that brief moment. After that, Harald willingly handed himself over to Loki without protecting himself with Conqueror's haki, unlike what he did against Gaban and Shanks, and that is why he was completely defeated.
If you remember the battle of Garp and Roger against Rox, it was stated very clearly that Rox was superior to both of them in Haki. That's why they said they had to launch a suicidal attack, pouring out every last drop of their Haki in hopes of breaking through the Haki barrier that Xebec was maintaining. Rox did not anticipate this desperate, all-out move. Because of that, he did not coat himself sufficiently, and that is how he was defeated. The same thing happened here. Harald did not coat himself, so he took a direct, unguarded attack. It was a brilliant decision by the author to give Harald this kind of ending, one that does not break the power balance. And speaking of broken power balance, do you know what's been happening lately in the One Piece community? Many Twitter accounts are shamelessly stripping Kaido of the title The Strongest Creature and giving it to Loki. To that level. Do you realize that Kaido has, by a massive margin, the highest number of explicit statements confirming him as the strongest living creature, far more than Roger, Whitebeard, or anyone else? Do you realize that Kaido is the only character for whom the author openly stated that he struggled to find a way to defeat him? Do you realize that Kaido is the only character whose downfall was directly tied to a prophecy? Oda literally created a prophecy specifically for Kaido. That prophecy states that only people in the future, led by Joy Boy, would be capable of defeating Kaido. Kaido himself said it clearly, "No one in this world can defeat me except Joy Boy, the child of prophecy." And we all know how Kaido was ultimately defeated. It was not a simple one-on-one duel. It was the fulfillment of a prophecy, a destiny entirely orchestrated to bring about Kaido's defeat. And yet, after all of this, people repeatedly trample over Oda's own words and throw them straight into the trash. Anyway, I hope I managed to get the point across. If you watched the video until the end, don't forget to support me with a like and a comment. It's free for you, but it means a lot to me and helps the channel immensely.